Numbers chapter 5, the Lord spoke to Moses, saying, "Command the people of Israel that they put out of the camp everyone who is leprous, who has a discharge, and everyone who is unclean through contact with the dead. You shall put out both male and female, putting them out outside the camp, that they may not defile the camp, in the midst of which I dwell." And the people of Israel did so, and put them outside the camp, as the Lord said to Moses, so the people of Israel did. Leprosy is a condition that you're going to see regularly conflated with ceremonial uncleanness. It's not just that the people are sick and it's quarantine, but the quarantine also corresponds with kind of a spiritual quarantine. It's not that it's a sin to have leprosy. It's not that it's a sin to be unclean, but if you are unclean for something that you're doing, you have to be cleansed first. So you have to be purified first before you can go about your normal duties. An example of this is that you're not allowed to touch a dead body. That'll make you unclean. Now, it's not a sin to touch a dead body. Someone has to take care of the body and then, put it in the ground and all that, do a funeral. But by so doing, you make yourself unclean, so you have to be purified. This is a spiritual thing, but it also corresponds, now that we understand germ theory, it corresponds a lot to biology as well, is that hygiene is very important. But this is, when it talks about uncleanness in the Bible, don't read this as this person is sinning. So it'll say, like if a woman had just given birth, she's unclean. Well, it's not that she just sinned. It's that she literally needs to be cleaned up, and there's a spiritual connection tied to that as well. All right, so verse 5. So this is going to be a bunch of kind of laws and tests and stuff like that. Verse 5, the Lord spoke to Moses, saying, "Speak to the people of Israel. When a man or a woman commits any of the sins that the people commit by breaking faith with the Lord, and that person realizes his guilt, he shall confess his sin that he has committed, and he shall make full restitution for his wrong, adding a fifth to it, and giving it to him to whom he did wrong. But if the man has no next of kin to whom restitution may be made for the wrong, restitution for the wrong shall go to the Lord, for the priest, in addition to the ram of atonement with which atonement is made for him. And every contribution, all the holy donations of the people of Israel, which they bring to the priest, shall be his. Each one shall keep his holy donations. Whatever anyone gives to the priest shall be his." All right, so you're also going to see a lot of civil laws. Now, the Bible doesn't specifically list, this is a moral law, this is a ceremonial law, and this is a civil law, but we can see that there are certain laws that apply to just the society. How is the society going to deal with legal issues, for example? There are certain laws that apply to how you're supposed to do sacrifices, or being spiritually or ritually clean or unclean. Those are more ceremonial laws. For example, if I had a requirement to wear a certain robe and a turban and all these other things in order to do a sacrifice in the temple, well, we don't have the Jerusalem temple anymore. That doesn't apply to me. If it's a civil law that talks about that you are supposed to, like that there's a curfew or something like this, or this is how the people of Israel have to dress, that doesn't apply to me. I'm not part of the civilization of Israel. I'm not one of the Israelites. And in fact, that civilization no longer exists. So it doesn't apply to anybody anymore. But you're going to see things, and some of them are going to be civil, some of them are going to be ceremonial, and some of them are going to be moral. Thou shalt not steal, thou shalt not commit adultery, thou shalt not murder, etc. And there'll be some overlap with some of these things. Sometimes you'll have mitigations. You'll have ways that God basically says, okay, you have done this bad thing to this bad person. Here's how you resolve it. Or like, this is not saying that it's good to do the sin, but this is saying you've already committed this sin. How can we minimize the damage, and how can we make restitutions? So in this case, confession and restitution, it's not saying that it's okay for people to sin against each other, you just pay a fee, but rather it's saying that once you have sinned against a person, you have to repent and you have to restate or reinstate that which you have taken from them, plus a penalty. All right, verse 11. And the Lord spoke to Moses, saying, "Speak to the people of Israel, if any man's wife goes astray and breaks faith with him, if a man lies with her sexually, it is hidden from the eyes of her husband, and she is undetected, though she has defiled herself, and there is no witness against her, since she was not taken in the act. And the spirit of jealousy comes over him who is jealous of his wife and who has defiled her, or the spirit of jealousy comes over him, and he is jealous of his wife, though she has not defiled her. Then the man shall bring his wife to the priest and bring an offering required of her, a tenth of an ephah of barley flour. He shall pour no oil on it and put no frankincense on it, for it is a grain offering of jealousy, a grain offering of remembrance, bringing iniquity to remembrance. Okay, this is already complicated. It's going to get more complicated. In this case, again, this is how the Lord is going to test for adultery. This is saying that a person is jealous of their spouse. A lot of times you hear the word jealous and you think envious. It's a sin to be envious. Envy means I want what you have. Jealousy is I don't want to share what God has rightfully given me. If you are married, you are jealous of your spouse. That's a good thing. You don't want other people to have your spouse. They're yours. God has given them to you. Same thing with your children. They're your children. You should be jealous of your children. You shouldn't say, oh, yeah, sure, the government can take care of my children. Oh, yeah, sure, my children are, it takes a village to raise a child. Nah, it's you. That's your kids. You have every right to be protective of that which is yours. You can even be jealous for your own property. I mean, everything you have comes from the Lord, but you can absolutely say, yeah, I kind of don't want people to steal from me. Thou shalt not steal is a sin because people do own property. So in this case, this jealousy, the husband is jealous of his wife. He suspects his wife of adultery, and this is basically saying either she has committed adultery or she hasn't. If there were witnesses to this adultery, there are 2 or 3 witnesses for sins, then you could bring them immediately before the kind of the tribunal, the judge, the whatever. They will sort that out legally because they're witnesses. If there are no witnesses and the husband suspects the wife of adultery, what does he do? Well, first he brings a grain offering to the priest. And we'll continue to read in verse 16. And the priest shall bring her near and set her before the Lord. And the priest shall take holy water in an earthenware vessel and take some of the dust that is on the floor of the tabernacle and put it in the water. And the priest shall set the woman before the Lord and unbind the hair of the woman's head and place in her hands the grain offering of remembrance, which is a grain offering of jealousy. And in his hand the priest shall have the water of bitterness that brings the curse. The priest shall make her take an oath, saying, if no man has lain with you, and if you have not turned aside to the uncleanness while you were under your husband's authority, be free from this water of bitterness that brings the curse. But if you have gone astray, though you are under your husband's authority, if you have defiled yourself and some other man than your husband has lain with you, then let the priest make the woman take the oath of the curse and say to the woman, the Lord make you a curse and an oath among your people. And the Lord make your thigh fall away and your body swell. Make this water that brings a curse pass into your bowels. Make your womb swell, your thigh fall away. And the woman shall say, Amen, Amen. Okay, if you have heard, has anybody heard this verse before? You may have heard this verse before, brought up by people who are trying to say that the Bible is in favor of abortion. So this woman, so you can see where this is going. Now, if we've been reading since the beginning of chapter 5, which we have, we understand that this is a test for adultery. This is a woman saying, no, I haven't sinned against my husband. I haven't been unfaithful. Okay, well now she's brought to the priest. She's basically made to swear an oath before God and before the priest to say, I swear on the life of my child that I have not committed adultery. At this point, the woman is if she has committed adultery, is hiding her sin, is swearing not to be complicit of her sin. She's not repentant of her sin. This is not an abortion. This is not she goes in because she wants to take a magic drink of water that causes an abortion. Yeah, well, so she's pregnant with a kid at this point. If she may, again, if she's not pregnant, if she's not guilty, then nothing happens. So this is not a magic pill that she takes that kills the baby. This is a test to see whether or not she's committed adultery. And every step along this way, she could say, no, stop this. I've committed adultery, but I want my child to live. She has every ability to stop this proceeding for the sake of her own child and spare the child and confess her sin and then deal with it that way. But if she instead chooses to remain selfish and chooses to try to hide her guilt from God, then there are consequences for that. Verse 23, then the priest shall write the curses in a book and wash them off into the water of bitterness. And he shall make the woman drink the water of bitterness that brings the curse. The water that brings the curse shall enter into her and cause bitter pains, and the priest shall take the grain offering of jealousy out of the woman's hand and shall wave a grain offering before the Lord. and bring it to the altar. And the priest shall take a handful of the grain offering, as it is a memorial portion, and burn it on the altar. Afterwards shall make the woman drink the water. And when he has made her drink the water, if she has defiled herself and has broken faith with her husband, the water that brings the curse shall enter her and cause bitter pain, and the womb shall swell, her thigh shall fall away, and the woman shall become a curse among her people. But if the woman has not defiled herself and is clean, she shall be free and shall conceive children. Well, look at that. This is not an abortion drug. This is not the Bible coming up with a way to kill your children. This is the Bible coming up with a way, or this God coming up with a way in this society to test to see whether or not this woman has been faithful as she is claiming to be. Again, she is claiming not to have committed adultery. If she has committed adultery and she insists on continuing to deny her sin, then there are consequences for this. In addition to the loss of her child, she's to be considered a curse among her people. She is clinging to her sin. Now, this sounds severe, but it's really not. This is just, it's not unreasonable. It is severe, but this is the severity of breaking God's law. There are consequences for actions. Adam and Eve got kicked out of the garden. They could have lived there forever, and now as a result of their sin, they die, and billions of people after them die as a result of Adam and Eve's sin. So sin is so severe that it often brings death. In this case, it is ongoing, unrepentant, stubborn sin. It's not just like she made an oopsie and she wants to be forgiven. Yes, ma'am?
What is with her thigh falling away?
I would have to get into the Hebrew regarding that. It basically just means that she's pregnant, and it's a weird Hebrewism way of saying things. It's like saying, I came up with this sermon off the top of my head. What does it mean, off the top of my head? Well, you and I understand this means that it's something where I didn't prepare for this and I just thought of this and it just kind of came to me. But in this case, in Hebrew, there's a lot of these different things. It talks about the finger of the Lord has written these things, or the finger of the Lord accused, or the right arm of the Lord, or the eye of the Lord, or the face of the Lord, or stuff like this. I at one point, I was so bold in thinking that I would have so much free time, I was going to write something. I was going to call it the anatomy of the Bible, where I go into each one of these weird phrases, and I basically have a description of what it actually means. Like, if you remember the story of Ruth and Boaz, I think Ruth puts her hand underneath Boaz's thigh or something, or uncovers his feet, or there's all these weird things that they do regarding the thigh and the feet and stuff like that we just don't understand. Well, yeah, it would be. I just don't have the time or the expertise to write it. But I would love to have that book on my shelf where it's okay, what is, when it refers to the eye of someone, why is your eye downcast? Why is your face downcast? Something like that. It would be great to have a reference to say, oh, these are all the verses where it says something like that. This is what it tends to mean. But yeah, in this case, when it talks about the thigh falling away, let me see if it says anything in the commentary. The woman shall become a curse. Now, let me see. Grain offering. Okay. I'm trying to see. Water of bitterness. Curse. Unbinding of the hair. Her head covering was removed, an act of mourning. But here the act is to raise an issue of immoral behavior. Let's see. Thigh fall away and your body swell. By the oath, if she had committed adultery, the curse... she cursed her womb and her body. So it doesn't say specifically kind of describe it, but yeah, she's cursing her own child this way. Yes, sir? Did you look it up? Yeah.
I don't know exactly where this came from. It's called Answers in Genesis.
Oh, yeah. I know that guy.
There's three different theories, I guess.
Yeah.
Loss of fertility. In ancient Hebrew culture, the thigh was a euphemism for the reproductive organs. Falling away or shriveling signifies a permanent loss of the ability to bear children. Miscarriage or wasting away. Some scholars in a few Bible translations interpret it as a euphemism or for a miscarriage or the literal wasting away of the pelvic region.
Yeah.
The third one here is physical disfigurement. Many translations suggest it means her reproductive area would rot, shrivel, or suffer physical deformity.
Oh dear. Well, any of those really kind of work. If I was to just come at this text as it is, look at the contrast in verse 28. So the thigh falls away if she is cursed. But what happens in verse 28 if she has not defiled her husband? Verse 28, but if the woman is not defiled her husband and is clean, she shall be free and shall conceive children. So this kind of indicates to me that the curse is either that if she is pregnant, that child dies, or she loses the ability to conceive. She's not able to conceive children. She becomes infertile. Versus if she's found to be clean, she at least can conceive children. She shall conceive children. So any of those kind of work. Again, this text is brought up by pro-abortion activists that say, well, look, here's God performing an abortion. No, that's not. Very often, the purpose of an abortion is to kill the child. The purpose of this verse is not to kill a child, but to get the woman to confess and be forgiven and to kind of work on restitution. So verse 29, this is the law in cases of jealousy. When a wife, though under her husband's authority, goes astray and defiles herself, when the spirit of jealousy comes over a man and he is jealous for his wife, then he shall set the woman before the Lord, and the priest shall carry out for her all this law. The man shall be free from iniquity, but the woman shall bear her iniquity. Now, you may be thinking, oh yeah, but what if the husband is the one who's unfaithful? Well, the husband doesn't bear the child. It's a little bit different. I mean, the Bible never says that it's appropriate for a husband to be unfaithful. And there's various times when these sorts of things are confronted. Uniting yourself with a prostitute and uniting yourself with death, this sort of thing. It is just as severe, but in this case, God doesn't deal with men and women as though they're interchangeable. He understands that only women can give birth. So infidelity in this case, in the case of a woman, is connected with her fertility. One of the greatest gifts that a woman has is the ability to bear children, and one of those greatest gifts is taken away because of unfaithfulness. But yeah, it's just because there's not a whole section on, well, the man has to drink the bitter water and all this other stuff, doesn't mean that God doesn't care if a man is unfaithful. But God deals with men and women differently and specifically. And thou shalt not commit adultery applies to both men and women. It does not say only women. All right, chapter 6. Are you guys familiar with Samson? Samson, guy who grew his hair out long. I mean, who would do something like that? Guy grew his hair out long. Well, this is where so Samson grows his hair out long because he is a Nazirite. He is a Nazirite. It's interesting that I'm trying to remember where the verse is. I think there's one verse that talks about that somebody refers to Jesus as a Nazirite or something like that. The language is unclear, but I think the idea being that Nazareth and Nazirite sounds similarly enough that the connection is being made between this vow and between Jesus. Now, Jesus did not take the Nazirite vow. Jesus did not grow his hair out his entire life, abstain from alcohol. I mean, he literally turned water into wine at Cana. He did not do all of these things that the Nazirite vow would entail. But there is some connection there, and you can at least see it in the word Nazareth or Nazarene and Nazirite. All kind of sound the same. So chapter 6, and the Lord spoke to Moses, saying, speak to the people of Israel and say to them, when either a man or a woman makes a special vow, the vow of a Nazirite, to separate himself to the Lord, he shall separate himself from wine and strong drink. So again, Jesus at the wedding of Cana, he obviously wouldn't be a Nazirite, although he is from Nazareth. So is he a Nazarene? I don't know. Depends on what you mean by that. You shall drink no vinegar made from wine or strong drink. So again, Jesus on the cross, remember he drinks the vinegar wine. Made from wine or strong drink. And shall not drink any juice of grapes or eat grapes, fresh or dried. In the days of his separation, he shall eat nothing that is produced by the grapevine, not even the seeds or the skins. All the days of his vow of separation, no razor shall touch his head until the time is completed for which he separates himself unto the Lord. He shall be holy. He shall let the locks of his hair grow long. All the days he separates himself to the Lord, he shall not go near a dead body. Now, yes, sir.
It reminds me of Christ saying out of line.
I turned it down a bunch, George. That's why it's down to 68. Yeah. What was it?
I would not drink of the fruit of the
vine. The fruit of the vine until you see me again in the kingdom.
Making one then, doesn't it?
Interesting. So you are seeing some connections here. All this connections to the fruit of the vine, not just wine. So the Greek word for wine is oinos. There's no W in it. It's just O-I-N-O-S. Winos. So I don't buy this whole Jesus turned water into grape juice thing, especially since the Greek word literally is wine. But yeah, as you're reading this, think of the kind of contrasts to Jesus. And Jesus, a Nazirite vow isn't necessarily forever. It's until that the period of that vow, for the period of that vow, they're not allowed to do a thing. So if you want to say, well, maybe Jesus took some sort of, or a Nazirite vow kind of prefigured Jesus when he said he would not drink from the fruit of the vine. There might be some connection there. Okay, yeah, no razor shall touch his head. Again, the one that this brings to mind is Samson in particular. Verse 6. And all the days he separates himself to the Lord, he shall not go near a dead body. Does Samson ever go near any dead bodies? Kind of on a regular basis. You'll notice that Samson was not the perfect, sinless, spotless Lamb of God. Samson makes a vow and does a bunch of stuff he's not supposed to. And it's maybe hinted at or implied that he does even more sinful stuff he's not supposed to.
That honey from,
that was the first thing, from the lion's carcass as well.
with people.
Yeah, he also kind of made his own collection of dead bodies at various times. But yeah, he literally he's the one who killed the lion. Then he goes back to the lion, touches the dead body to pull the honey out of the carcass. And then he creates a pile of dead bodies. So yeah, he's doing a real good job of being a Nazirite, right? Not even for his father, for his mother, for his brother or sister. If they die, shall he make himself unclean, because his separation to God is on his head. All the days of his separation he is holy to the Lord. And if a man dies suddenly beside him and defiles his consecrated head, then he shall shave his head on the day of his cleansing. On the seventh day he shall shave it. Did Samson ever shave his head? No. Not on his own, but Delilah did shave his head. Now this keeps talking about on his head, on his head, on his head. The hair, the growing of the hair is tied to the vow. And the longer the hair, the longer you've been under this Nazirite vow. This is why when Samson shaves his head, when Delilah shaves Samson's head, this is the reckoning. This is the final realization that you have departed. Samson, again, when we get to the story of Samson, he was not the greatest guy. I think it says that he was drunk on he had dealings, I think, with prostitutes, and I think he drank alcohol as well. But it's this shaving of the head that is the final indication that he is removed from his vow. So this is, if somebody dies beside him, he has to shave his consecrated head. Shave all of his head out. So he's defiled, he's ritually, ceremonially unclean by being next to a dead body. There takes a period of time to go through a special cleansing process. And then when he's finally done cleansing, he shaves his head, and then he kind of marks it again. All right, he shall shave his head on the day of his cleansing. On the seventh day he shall shave it. Something happening on the seventh day, and then the eighth day, something new. On the eighth day, he shall bring 2 turtle doves or 2 pigeons to the priest in the entrance of the tent of meeting. The priest shall offer one for a sin offering and offer for a burnt offering, make atonement for him because he has sinned by reason of the dead body. Now, in this case, sin isn't necessarily that he's broken, he is intentionally violated God's commandment on purpose. Again, this is if somebody dies next to him suddenly. But a sin is a transgression. So there are specific laws that he's required to follow. Even if it's an accident, he didn't follow this law, he has to go through the purification process. There's no excuses that can be made. He sinned for reason of the dead body, shall consecrate his head on that same day, and separate himself to the Lord for the days of his separation, and bring a male lamb a year old for guilt offering. But the previous period shall be void because his separation was defiled. So all that time he was cutting his hair or growing his hair out, all that by the time he cuts his hair, that time doesn't count. And when the law of and this is the law of the Nazirite, when the time of separation has been completed, he shall bring it to the entrance of the tent of meeting. He shall bring his gift to the Lord: 1 male lamb a year old without blemish for burnt offering, 1 ewe lamb a year old without blemish as a sin offering, 1 ram without blemish as a peace offering, a basket of unleavened bread, loaves of fine flour mixed with oil, unleavened wafers smeared with oil, their grain offering with their drink offerings. And the priest shall bring them before the Lord and offer his sin offerings and burnt offerings. They shall offer a ram as sacrifice as a peace offering for the Lord, and a basket of unleavened bread. The priest shall offer it a grain offering and drink and its drink offering. And the Nazirite shall shave his consecrated head in the entrance of the tent of meeting, and shall take the hair from his consecrated head and put it on the fire that is under the sacrifice for the peace offering. And the priest shall take the shoulder of the ram when it is boiled, and 1 unleavened loaf out of the basket and 1 unleavened wafer, and shall put hands on the Nazirite. After he has shaved the hair of his consecration, the priest shall wave them for a wave offering before the Lord, their holy portion for the priest, together with the breast that is waved, the thigh that is contributed. After that, the Nazirite may drink wine. This is the law of the Nazirite. But if he vows an offering of the Lord above his Nazirite vow, as he can afford, in exact accordance with the vow that he takes, then he shall do in addition to that the law of the Nazirite. So the Nazirite is a period of time. It's like if you were to take a vow, a Nazirite vow, either a man or a woman. So we only think about Samson for this case, but a man or a woman either one could take a Nazirite vow. And if they were to take this Nazirite vow, let's say it's for 20 years. And then after that, let's say you get it to 19 years and like 60 days and some guy dies next to you. Well, you have to shave your head and start all over. You have to make it through all 20 years without breaking your vow. In the case of Samson, do you remember the length of Samson's Nazirite vow? It was promised before he was even born. So Samson's mother was not able to conceive, and she said that if she was able to conceive, then she would consecrate her son unto the Lord in a Nazirite vow. And God let her open her womb, and she was able to conceive. But it was a lifelong consecration for Samson. Samson was not able to stop his Nazirite vow after 20 years, so he had to continue going back. When his head was shaved by Delilah, it's not like he was freed from his vow, but he had to go back. And God tied the gift, the blessing that he gave Samson in his great strength, he tied this to Samson's vow. So what happens after Samson is shaved? Do you remember what happens to him afterwards? There's a period of time. What was that?
He was helpless.
He was helpless. He was as weak as any other man. They gouged his eyes out. They kind of paraded him around as a gesture, like, hey, everybody, let's laugh at this guy. They made him like grind grain and stuff like that. But it's interesting. If you read the text, it says, and Samson's hair began to grow. So his Nazirite vow was broken. The sign of his vow was shaved off. His hair was cut off. And yet God continued to restore him. God didn't give up and say, well, you broke the vow, it's over. No, he may have had to start over with short hair and start growing his hair again. But his hair again began to grow. And God eventually returned to him the blessing of his vow, which would be that great strength. Yes, ma'am?
Even one that tore down
The pillars? Yes, and that's the end of the story of Samson. At the end, so by the time he finally gets to the place, he's blinded. It says he gouged his eyes out. Sometimes the children's books, they leave this part out. I try to insert it whenever we're reading the children's books to the kids, and then they gouged his eyes out. And it wasn't like they tied on a blindfold. They specifically ripped his eyes out. He had kind of killed a lot of Philistines. He kills a lot of Philistines. But he kills more Philistines in the final act of his life than he does over the course of his entire life, which is thousands and thousands of them. So yeah, at the end of the life of Samson, he's blinded, and they bring him out to laugh at him, as is their custom, and they're celebrating in their temple of their pagan god. And he gets brought out, and he says, well, first he prays to God. He says, God, give me back the strength that I may avenge myself on these Philistines. And then he asks one of the young boys, who says, hey, I'm tired, can you help me put my hand on a pillar? I can't see. So the young boy does. He puts his hand on the pillar, and God restores to him the strength. So at this point, Samson is blinded, but his hair is back. This is an important indication that he has returned to his vow. He is taking his vow seriously again. Maybe more seriously than he was on the first part of his life when he was out being a menace. But at this point, God restores the blessing to him and recognizes again the vow of the Nazirite. So Samson dies a Nazirite with long hair and thousands of other Philistines around him. He pushes over the pillars, and the funny thing is, in a lot of like the little kids' stories or whatever, it's like, and then the little boy ran away, so he wasn't crushed. Oh no, I don't think it says that in the text. I think everybody just dies. And that's just kind of how it is. It's the Canaanites? No, the Philistines. Yeah, the Philistines. Yeah, the Canaanites, they have their own problems, but the Philistines. And then God avenges himself on the Philistines. And it says that in that moment, Samson killed more of the Philistines than he killed in his entire life leading up to that, which was already thousands. So there you go. This is the Nazirite vow, Numbers chapter 6. This is where that all comes from, the whole long hair thing. Yes, sir.
Not only that, all the people he had done were probably grunts.
Yeah.
This is the royalty.
This is the royal, this is the priest, this is the temple of, I forget which temple it is, but it's their pagan temple, yeah. This isn't just, so before he just kills soldiers and stuff. They throw 1,000 soldiers at him and he kills them all. But yeah, in this case, this is the heart of the pagan idolatry of the Philistine people. And he destroys their temple and kills everybody who's worshiping and celebrating in their temple and mocking God. Because that's what's going on. They're not just mocking Samson, they're mocking Samson's God. And God will not be mocked. And God puts up with it for a while. He puts up with it for quite a while. And then they die. You know, you never know. You pick a fight with God and eventually you're going to find out. All right, verse 22, the Lord spoke to Moses, saying, "Speak to Aaron and his sons, saying, Thus you shall bless the people of Israel. You shall say to them," this might sound familiar to you guys, "The Lord bless you and keep you. The Lord make his face shine upon you and be gracious unto you. The Lord lift up his countenance upon you and give you peace." Ha ha, I did not make that up. Yes, ma'am. Yeah, amen. Yeah, there you go. "So shall they put my name upon the people of Israel, and I will bless them." So a lot of the prayers that we use in the service we just steal from the Bible. That one most blatantly, that's the benediction. Bene means good, and diction means word. This is the good word. This is the blessing.
Aaron's blessing.
It's sometimes called the Aaronic, not the ironic, the Aaronic benediction, the Aaron's blessing. All right. Is this offerings? Okay. All right, so this next chapter talks about, this is again another one of these chapters that says, this is how many shekels of this kind of offering, how many shekels of this kind of offering. I'm going to skip that one. All right, I'm going to go to chapter 8 because it talks about the Levites a little bit there. Chapter 8, Numbers chapter 8. "Now the Lord has spoken to Moses. Speak to Aaron and say to him, when you set up the lamps, the 7 lamps shall give light in front of the lampstand. And Aaron did so. He set up the lamps in front of the lampstand as the Lord commanded Moses. And this is the workmanship of the lampstand, hammered work of gold from its base to its flower. It was a hammered work according to the pattern that the Lord had shown Moses. So he made a lampstand." Verse 5, "The Lord said to Moses, take the Levites from among the people of Israel." Remember, the Levites were the set-aside tribe of Levi, and they were the ones who were going to do the high priestly stuff in the temple of Israel, "and cleanse them. Thus you shall do to them to cleanse them. Sprinkle water of purification upon them, and let them go with a razor all over their body, and wash their clothes and cleanse themselves. Then let them take a bull from the herd, and a grain offering of fine flour mixed with oil, and you shall take another bull from the herd as a sin offering. You shall bring the Levites before the tent of meeting, and assemble the whole congregation of the people of Israel. When you bring the Levites before the Lord, the people of Israel shall lay hands on the Levites, and Aaron shall offer the Levites before the people as a wave offering from the people of Israel. They may do service of the Lord. Then the Levites shall lay their hands on the head of the bulls that you shall offer, one in sin offering and the other for a burnt offering to the Lord to make atonement for the Levites. And you shall set the Levites before Aaron and his sons and offer them as a wave offering to the Lord. Thus you shall separate the Levites from among the people of Israel, and the Levites shall be mine. And after that the Levites shall go in to serve the tent of meeting. But you have cleansed them and offered them as a wave offering, for they are wholly given to me from among the people of Israel. Instead of all who open the womb, the firstborn from the people of Israel, I've taken them for myself." If you remember previous chapters, the idea was either God was going to take the firstborn, so the firstborn always belongs to the Lord. But God, rather than taking the firstborn from each of the tribes, he says, I will just take all the Levites, and you guys actually get to keep all of your firstborn rather than they have to go and serve in the temple. So this is what's going on. He sets the Levites apart. "I've taken them for myself, for the firstborn among the people of Israel are mine, both man and beast. On the day that I struck down all the firstborn in the land of Egypt, I consecrated them for myself, and I've taken the Levites instead of the firstborn from among the people of Israel. And I've given the Levites as a gift to Aaron and his sons from among the people of Israel to do the service of the people of Israel, the tent of meeting, to make atonement for the people of Israel, that there may be no plague among the people of Israel, and the people of Israel come near the sanctuary." So the people of Israel a lot. "Thus did Moses and Aaron and all the congregation of the people of Israel to the Levites, according to all that the Lord commanded Moses concerning the Levites. The people of Israel did to them. The Levites purified themselves from sin and washed their clothes, and Aaron offered them as a wave offering before the Lord. Aaron made atonement for them to cleanse them. And after that, the Levites went in to do their service in the tent of meeting before Aaron and his sons, and the Lord had commanded Moses concerning the Levites. So they did to them. I could just finish the chapter. And the Lord spoke to Moses, saying, this applies to the Levites. From 25 years old and upward, they should come to do duty in the service of the tent of meeting. From the age of 50 years, they shall go and withdraw from the duty of service and serve no more. They minister to their brothers in the tent of meeting by keeping guard. They shall do no service. Thus you shall do to the Levites in assigning their duties. So the Levites, again, this is 2 chapters kind of back to back of God having people set apart. The Nazirites, like those who take the Nazirite vow, like Samson, but then also the people that God has specifically called and set apart. Now the Levites were the priestly class. They were a set apart people, a chosen people. Can you think of anything in the New Testament that talks about a chosen people, a priesthood of a holy nation, a priesthood of all believers? So this is a kind of a foretaste of God saying that he sets apart all Christians. So in the same way that the descendants of Levi were all taken and set apart in a even greater way, you as Christians, all of the sons of God, are taken and set apart and consecrated. That means made sacred, made holy, made saints. You are all saints, a holy priest or a holy nation, a priesthood of all believers. But yeah, so this is a pattern. God does things a lot in the Old Testament, and then he does them even bigger in the New Testament as well. And you're going to see a lot of these connections as you keep reading. So with that, let's close with the doxology.